All right, I want to just jump into this video. The last video was doing some repair on the lower cowls under the main cowl. The video before that, we made a template for the firewall, and the video before that, we cut out the existing firewall or the original firewall. So this is piggybacking off of the making the template video. I'm going to go ahead and kind of finalize that here first off. We'll get it fit, and then hopefully by the end of this video, we will have the new firewall welded in place. Here I made some adjustments to the design. The original design was in through here. I'm getting ready to cut out my new pattern, and then we're going to test fit it and make sure everything lines up the way we want it to. So I'm going to go ahead and get that cut out now. From where you're at, maybe you can see we've got a double line. What I did is I made a new shape, and then we're coming in about 3/8 of an inch or 5/8 of an inch. I don't remember which. So you can see a double line here. I also made some cuts while this was sitting in the vehicle, and that's just showing where the floor pans stop. So here, you can see we've got a line here and a line here. I'm going to go on the inside of this line, and what this is going to represent is a flange that we can bend in so that we have something to attach that transmission tunnel to. So I'm going to go ahead and get this cut out now. And in each of these corners, I'm just going to make a cut, and then we'll fold these whichever way they need to go. At this time, they're going to need to fold in, so I'm going to wait until we have it in place, I think, before I start making those bends. But just from the corner down, corner down. Okay, this top area we don't have to worry about because there's a bend in this portion here, and I didn't want to bend that way it won't keep it from sliding up in there. So I'm going to go ahead and test fit this. All right, this template has been laid on a table for probably 2 weeks. It's had an opportunity to flatten out, and I think it's a little bit wider than what it was when I first made it, so you see a little bit of a wrinkle, but that is not the most important part. The center section is the most important part. Everything is lining up the way I want it to. If I use the center mark here as a reference and I mark it out on the metal using the center point, I think we're going to be in good shape. I'll show you what else I wanted to look at. In here, you can see how things are lining up here. So I think I'm going to go for it and transfer this over to sheet metal, but I'll leave these edges long. I'll take these panels off when I fit it, and we won't break those just yet. Well, we'll need to break those in order to, no, we don't. We don't need to break those just yet. Those will still be accessible. So yeah, we'll just get this transferred over to sheet metal, and we'll start doing some cutting. As you can see, we have the rough cut done, and I don't know if you could understand what I was doing here. I came up about 3/4 of an inch, made a second line that follows that contour. We're going to cut in, kind of like what I did here on that transmission tunnel, and kind of the same way we did on the template. And once I make some cuts, we're going to break over this edge, this direction, and once we get that at 90 degrees, like I mentioned earlier, I'm leaving the sides along. We'll go fit it up along that top edge of the firewall and make sure everything's fitting good across the top. When we get to that point, I will then verify my marks here, and then we'll do the break on both ends as well as the break for cutting back to the floorboards. That actually went better than I expected, so let's take a quick look. Here you can see the profile is still there, not perfect, but at the end of that last clip, you did see I had a hammer and dolly out. So I'll try to get this smoothed up with the hammer and dolly, but like I said, you can see the profile's good. I'm also going to come through and clean up the debris from where I did my cuts, try to make sure this all lines up a little bit better. And then I gotta remove these side panels. We'll get it clamped in place. I'll put some Clecos in, and then we can start taking a closer look at what the next steps are. Well, the moment of truth. I have pre-drilled some 1/8 inch holes along this lip here so that we can use some Clecos to hold this in place. So I'm going to try and set it in place, clamp it, check it, and then we'll drill some holes, put some Clecos in, and hopefully this profile is decent. So right now the fit up is not perfect, and it's definitely not as close as I had hoped. Try to catch this. Right here it's kind of gapped out pretty bad, and over here kind of closes up. I'm gonna see if I can do some hammer and dolly work and see if I can get those gaps to close up a little bit. And I think I might go ahead and put a couple Clecos in too, just to keep it from falling. Because over here, where I've got a hole already for the Cleco, it's fitting pretty good. So I'm going to do that. I'll probably do some hammer dollying off of the camera, and we'll just see what happens. What? It don't fit. I'm terribly sorry. I did get a little bit ahead. The fitment across that top crown section up here, I just couldn't get that where I wanted it. So I ended up cutting this off. What we're gonna do, once this is placed in there and fitting well, I'm just gonna put a piece of 18 gauge across the top and tack it to this, and I think that'll do the same thing that we wanted. So obviously where we're at now is I did break the driver's side and we've got it kicked back. We're going to do the passenger side. I'll still have to take these panels off. I've got one here that I'm going to use as a reference for the brake, but once I have that done, we're going to put it back on there. I took some measurements. I also trimmed off a little section here, and then we're going to break this and go this direction. So what I need to do now is get that broke to where hopefully it lines up with that floor panel. We'll get it back in place. We'll get it marked to do the brake here. And then we'll come back. But I did want to go ahead and show you me actually doing the brake on this and how I'm using this for reference. And basically what we're looking at is we're coming down this angle here, and then about here we're going to kick back and go this direction. So I'm trying to capture this angle right here. One issue I encountered when I was trying to set this up last night is the lever that comes down and holds this die down on the metal was hitting right here. So I just had to unthread the handle, get it moved down and then under. So right now I think it's just time to start bending. So what I'm doing is just trying to check this angle. Okay, I think we're pretty close. Let's get this set in place and see what it looks like. Yeah. You can see things are lining up really good. I think, yeah, at this moment it's not 100% perfect, but it is close enough that I am pretty happy. Now on the far side, I did pull the floor panel loose and pulled it back. It's got some beads rolled in it that I'll have to transfer to the new sheet metal on the firewall to match up. But the next part is marking the metal in this area here and marking it down, and then we're going to have to put a break in it and come 90 this way so that we can put our panel on this way. Well, you can see I got some more clamps holding it on. What I'm going to do now, I've pre-drilled some holes for clecos. I got one here, one over by the other vice grip. And then I'm going to make the piece that's going to go from here, you can see under here, from here to the other side. I'll get those clecoed in place, clecoed and clamped, and then I'm going to tack that in. That way I can take this off and on as much as I need to. One good reason that I didn't finalize the location of these floor pans is you can see this fitment is actually really good. And to get it like that, I had to scoot this one back about 1/2 inch. So it's not going to affect anything on the inside, and losing that 1/2 inch isn't going to, it's not really going to affect anything on the inside because I sit over there. So yeah, at this point I'm going to go ahead and get this all secure up here. I'll come back once I have the strip in place and before I start welding. The camera doesn't do a good job of showing whether or not this is straight up and down, but it looks like it's kicked back. And you can tell with the level on it, it is not level. So I thought it'd be a good idea to put an angle gauge on this. And I think you can see there it's about 93 degrees. So what I did to make myself at least try to feel a little bit better is put this on what I believe is supposed to be straight up and down. And I'm sorry, that was not 93, that was 87. And once this settles down, we're at about the same. So that actually makes me feel really good that we're probably looking pretty straight. So I'm going to continue to move forward. I didn't get very far from the last time I recorded. I still got to make this piece that goes across here and tack it into there, get it clecoed in place, but you can see I do have a couple more clecos holding the main firewall. We are ready to start tacking in that filler piece that I just added. You can see that I do have a crossbar on here, and the reason for that is to flatten this area, and that's the importance of why I was trying to do a break along that entire profile, but it just didn't work. So what we're going to be doing now is using that bar to pull this panel flat, and hopefully up here you can kind of see that it is pulled all the way to this piece that I just made. And this piece that I just made, I used the factory cut edge up against firewall, so that should be even flatter than the edge that I made. So obviously you can see we've got some clamps in a few places, we've got clecos throughout. The gap looks as good as it's going to get. So at this point I'm just gonna go through and tack along through here, and then maybe I'll capture that, maybe I won't, but once that's done, then we can move on to the rest of the fabrication on the outer edges, but everything's lining up really well. I'm very pleased. I'm off maybe an 1/8 of an inch here, 1/8 or 1/16, heavy 1/16 over here. So I'm really pleased with how this has turned out. But yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and tack on that front edge. And then I'm also, when I'm done, I'm gonna close up these gaps here because I don't want any water intrusion. So here we go. With each step, we're getting a little bit closer. I wanted to show you a couple changes that I made. For one, I went ahead and put some extra Clecos in toward the front of this floor pan. And then I also put in a couple here because of the fitment here. I'm really happy with that. However, the fitment over there, originally I said I would just kick that floor pan back about 1/2 an inch. I don't like that idea, and I think what I need to do, I don't know if you can see it here, but I need to match the angle, this angle right here. So what I'm going to do is match this angle over there, and then I'm going to match the angle on the floor pan over there, and hopefully that will line up just like this right here. And so that's my next move. Just got to reduce the brake here, increase the brake there, and as you can see, everything else is all in place how it's probably going to stay. Once we have that, we can move on to the next step. So I also originally wanted to break this and kick it back here this way so we'd have a flange, but I've decided against that. Just for fabrication purposes, I think it's going to give me less opportunity to mess up if I cut this, and then the piece that goes here will still extend past, and that will allow us to reuse these closeouts because they screw in this way and then from the top. Here you can see what I was talking about as far as kind of leaving that lip on there. There is a little bit of a gap here, and I think if I grind off that line, we might be able to close that up a little bit, but it's close enough that I can push it closed. I'm not worried about that. On the inside, look really good. Now what we were just working on was changing the angle on this brake, and you can see that we're very close to where we need to be. I am going to add some angle to the floor pan. Hopefully we can get it to match up a little bit. You can also see it kind of gaps out where the beads are, and that's just the nature of the beads. So also those beads being in there might give us a little bit of trouble when we go to do the brake, but we're going to go ahead and move on to getting this angle changed. have to confess, a lot of times I hold myself to an OEM standard when I should take a look and understand that I do not have the resources that an OEM does. I'm pretty excited to at least land at this level. I'll go ahead and show you around right now. And this is what I am willing to accept. So we've got that panel matching up. This will be welded in the end. Here you can see kind of our weld seam that we're going to have on the passenger side. Driver side, I did not cut it yet, but we will have a similar weld seam. And just as far as fitment, you can see the fitment from the floor panel to the firewall. And if we can pan over here, I will end up cutting that and getting that hopefully just as close as this. Now I will say this was almost a divine scenario. I had a floor panel cut that I was going to use, and at the last moment I decided that I would go ahead and make a new piece. Well, the piece did not need to be cut from here to there. However, I did put a profile in it from the old piece and it fit perfectly. So I didn't even have to cut this end. I joined everything using these clips. That's the end of this video. If you have any questions, put them in the comments below. If there's anything that you would like to see more in detail, put that in the comments below as well. And I hope to see you on the next video.